Hey guys, welcome back. This is Alan J. Fisher, and it has been a little while between what is today, the Art of the Storyteller episode 9, and what was the Art of the Storyteller episode 8. I do apologise, I've had some crazy things going on, family, some serious writing inspiration that just had me doing all kinds of things book related for the Chronicles of Enoch, which is close to first draft completion. I have, also haircut did take a little while. There was a lot of hair there, as some of you may have noticed and remembered. But that is not to say we're not good and ready to go. In fact, there's plenty of topics I've been thinking about over the past few weeks, and plenty of things I've noticed actually, and I'd like to make the first more of an observation rather than part of the actual series itself, if it were. So one piece of advice for all of you out there, because one thing I see on many Facebook groups, on many Instagram channels, even on Twitter channels, the fact that people are losing hope and getting upset and worried that no one appears to be liking their posts, following their posts, or giving them any responses. I wouldn't worry about that. You may actually find, as I have, when I stopped putting videos up and stopped putting blog posts up for a while, I was getting emails and messages from people who were missing my content. People who were watching it, people who were paying attention to it, and people who actually felt inspired by it and loved it. There's no reason to say that's just me who gets that. There's no reason to say why there aren't people out there who read your work, who read your posts, who enjoy your posts, who look at your pictures, who look at your videos if you have them, and are inspired and enjoy them and are motivated to write because of what you do. Just as, let's put it this way, just as a famous writer, for example, which we all one day hope to be, does not personally meet or hear from every person who buys their books. They may have a book signing event where someone may show up, they may get emails, they may get stalked a little bit, we may get stalked at some time in the future, be ready for that. But they don't get to see every single person who reads every single word that they write, but they exist. They do exist, and in your guys' case, they could exist too. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to what they would call those shadow subscribers, or those shadow followers, the people you don't see, but they are out there, and they're reading your book, they're doing everything you are advising them to do. Think about that. Think about that as well. Think about it really hard, of that power perhaps that you have to influence other people, and be careful about it. The one more thing I look at, and I see it a lot on groups these days, even ones which were supposedly safe havens for writers, where someone will post something that seems stupid to the rest of us. Fair enough. I've had the odd joke here and there, but I've tried to be nice about it. But you see some people who will go absolutely insane about it. They'll go crazy, they will say all kinds of nastiness, and it's like, well, it's character building because the world out there is tough, and if you can't have thick skin, it's like, well, no, you're enjoying it. Be honest. You like being nasty to people on the internet, and the people who may one day be your readers will see that, and they may not be your readers unless they're looking for the Gordon Ramsay type. Sorry, Gordon, if you see this, which I severely doubt. You're a lovely bloke in real life, I know. But your persona, your online public persona, is what people see. The whole cliche about first impressions. It's completely true. If I come across as a bit of an awkward, socially awkward, whatever kind of person, in everyday life, people are going to assume that's what I'm like and treat me accordingly. If I come across as outgoing and confident and Shakespearean in English, even though I'm Irish, people will remember that instead and treat me accordingly. You have to remember that what you, these days in this world of combined media, social media, online presence, it's not just your writing which you get judged on anymore. How your public persona is projected may influence whether people read your work or not. Think about that. So before you go on, how would you say, trolling or some other big mythical monster from the Scandinavian region of people online, think about who of those same people may one day be people you would like to read your books. And then remember, oh, this is Mr. XYX the third of Stapingthorpe. I remember him. I was trying to start out as a writer and he told me I sucked. Even if they do. I did at the beginning. The stuff I wrote, when I've looked back over stuff that I've written when I was a teenager, it was bloody awful. It was terrible, it was immature, it was not nuanced, it was not well written, it was naive in many ways. We've all been there. I did not pop out of the womb a fully formed and fantastic writer, otherwise I wouldn't be here recording videos and giving what I consider to be good advice to other people now, would I? If it were that bloody easy, anyone could do it. And contrary to what people tend to say on some of these Facebook groups, not everybody can do it. There's this very small proportion of people who have that special kind of crazy that makes them good at writing fiction. It's not an elitist thing to say. People tend not to be proud of saying that I'm crazy, but look, I've invented a world that does not exist. I have expounded and expanded upon the lives of people who aren't real. I have developed rules for a society that isn't there, and I will write down conversations had between beings who don't actually exist. Now, explain to me again what crazy is. I'll give you a minute. I'll give you another minute. Just so you know that I'm still moving. I know I don't blink very often, or it doesn't look like I do. It's because I'm an alien. Or an Nephilium, I suppose, in the case of my books. Nephiliums don't have eyelids. That's just the thing that helps you identify them. It's an old British comedy joke where they had, I can't remember what it was. It was people who didn't have, I forget what it was now. They lacked something. Earlobes, I think it was. It's some odd British comedy I remember, which I've completely forgotten about. It was something quite common, or nostrils or something, that you identified the aliens by the fact they lacked something that people tend not to notice. I've got a big bottom lip, that makes me an alien as well. Different kind. But you see what I mean? We can go on being all elitist and superior and oh, I am better than now, but actually we are essentially a somewhat sociopathic, somewhat crazy, somewhat misleading society that isn't actually a society, because writers are, for the most part, loners. And to have a society made up of loners is basically like having a, and this would be a good story now I come to think about it actually, to have a hermit's commune. Exactly. Hermits tend not to be the most social types. Writers are hermits who learned to write things down and then try to convince other people to read them. It's an interesting career choice, isn't it? Like art. You look at artwork. Look at some of my wife's artwork behind me. Oops, I'm trying to do the reverse thing. No, that's not. There we go. I got it. Yeah, that's one of the things I have. Mentally rotating things in my head. It doesn't always work. But artwork of my wife there. Fantastic. You can see it, it's visual, it carries a message. In that case, it's our daughter's names, one of which is hidden by the mosquito net. Carries a clear and obvious message, unless it's cubism or whatever it was that they did, where it's just boxes on a page of different colours. Carries a clear and obvious message, makes the house look nice. Someone takes your manuscript and puts it in a frame and sticks it on the wall, people can go look at it and go, and what's that? And that's it, really. You see, there's a difference. Writing is in here, and it is in here. I'm touching my heart. I don't want to move the monitor and make you seasick. That's the thing. Writing comes in through here, goes through there, and goes out into the infinite universe where your brain lives. That's the different thing about art. You know, music comes in your head, and it affects all of your different feelings and emotions. Poetry is a crossover. Novel writing and that sort of thing, the words deserted me, is the next step. It is etheric. It doesn't have an anchor, a concreteness to it. It's completely open to the interpretation of the people who are involved in it. And every person who reads your book will have a different interpretation for it. You know, look at a prime example. Any of you who've done English lit at school, the thing I always wanted to do was find a time machine, a la Mr. Peabody and Sherman type thing, have that little white dog with the glasses, bring Shakespeare, Thomas Hardy, Chaucer, Dickens, that sort of people, back from the past, and put them in front of my teacher and say, no, that's not what I meant at all. Yes, but in this chapter, page 7, line 562, word 6, you said cat. And surely cat must mean, in this context and in this storyline, that you were thinking about a duck. And that a duck means doom. And therefore your undertext of subtext was that this character was going to die. And Dickens would just go, no mate, I just like cats. And I just thought I'd stick one in there and see what happens. Because that's the thing. I could write a story about darkness or about nightmares or about something like that, and I have to some degree. I've got a story out there which I'm going to develop and mesh into my hegemony universe, actually, and somehow, maybe, big hint here, spoiler alert, maybe mesh it into my Chronicles universe a little bit as well, called The 13th Watcher. That is about darkness to a degree, but it's about other things. It has elements of comedy, it has elements of strangeness in it, but to 13 different people, the 13 Watchers could have a different meaning. They could view I've left the descriptions of the 12 main Watchers vague, and quite intentionally, because each person who reads it will see those Watchers differently than I do. The idea of that clock of life that the 13th Watcher implies may have a different meaning for somebody else. The idea of what is out there in the darkness, what is out there in that chaos, could be something for other people, because it's an allegorical story. And allegory, as you know, means different things to different people. Take a pure example, look at the Bible. Many allegorical stories, in fact, many people have different interpretations of them. The Chronicles of Enoch is purely based upon the origins of the Bible and the bits that, whether you choose to admit it to be true or not, were excised, removed and edited. And they were. I've done a lot of research, I've done a lot of digging. I've managed to speak to people who were in the Vatican archives. I couldn't get in there myself, not in my wildest dreams. Am I getting to have a dig around the Vatican archives? But I managed to speak to people who have. One or two of them may have got a little cameo in the book by way of thanks. I'm not going to tell you. But there are many of the details I've alluded to were in the Bible at some point. The Book of Enoch was in the Bible until sometime in the 4th century AD. Then, for reasons no one knows, everyone, or back then every abbey and every monastery and every church and cathedral and so forth where the Bibles were centrally kept, were told, please remove pages 300 to 500 right now, please, if you don't mind. Take this scroll and burn it. Idea is, I have it that some of them didn't burn their scrolls. But the result of that is the Book of Enoch, as we have it, is an incomplete, inexact version which was found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls in that cave in Qumran. Or is it Qumran? I can't remember. It's something like that anyway. It's something along those lines anyway. I decided to, in my little bit of fiction, have that some people saved exact copies. They hid them away against the orders of the church. And then you have to think about coming from that as well. So, I'm going in a loop here, but think about coming from that as well. If the church told you to excise and hide things, why? What were they trying to hide or change? And that's the basis that the Chronicles of Enoch leads upon. The church is not being run by those who have the church's best interest, the people's best interests, and the human race's best interests at heart. They certainly don't have Christ's best interests at heart. And I'm telling you this because I am writing a series of books that is going to upset, going to offend a lot of people, going to have a lot of personal flack directed in my direction, because in my mind, that's the truth. I'm going to get that flack come my way, and I'm going to let that flack go right over there, because I'm writing what I believe in. And here's the thing I wanted to tell you. You are writing what you believe in. You're writing what you believe to be the best book out there. You are writing with the best of your ability. You're confident in your ability. Stay that way. Don't give up. Don't let them get you down. Don't let them push you away. Because if you are sitting down with a story in your head and writing it down and telling the world about that story, that means you should tell it. It means you are supposed to tell it in as good a way as you can, and if once you've finished writing it, then you need to push it. If it doesn't sell, push it some more. At that point, accept feedback which is positive or constructive. Someone says to me, listen, take two forms of feedback here. Your book is a piece of crap, I hate it, and I would rather wipe my behind with it after I've had a poop. While interesting and engaging, there's just something in the overwhelmingly weighty language and overload of facts and explanations that just makes it difficult for me to read. That's the one I'm listening to. That one. You see the difference? A lot of people, and I mentioned it earlier about the thick-skinnedness, you cannot, is that even a term, thick-skinnedness? I don't know. If it is, copyright is mine. Okay, so, you can't have tissue-thin, paper-thin skin and be a writer either, because people are going to criticize it. You, in your mind, are going to have the single best amazing idea in the world ever. Good on you. Every other writer in the world has thought that at some point. You are going to have to accept, though, that not everybody is going to agree with you. The difference, excuse me, between being a good writer and a failure is the simple one. No, it's not a cup of coffee. Though, as I'm sure you know, as a writer, cups of coffee are quite important. I don't have blood. The blood in my veins is brown and black, half for ink and half for coffee. Yes, I know. Anyway, what was I actually saying? I almost lost my thread while I was going off on my little jingle about coffee. I'm going to copyright that one as well, and I'm going to make a commercial. Anyway, that's going to be on my new page or something. I don't know. I'll turn it into a video or something. I'll do something for you. If any of you want it, please do. Enjoy. It's a freebie. Anyway, as I go off on a very odd tangent, as I am quite often seen to do, especially in chapters, what I'm saying is you can have paper thin skin or tissue thin skin as a writer. What separates a good writer from a failure is their ability to take, to assimilate, and to act upon criticism. If you cannot take it, you fall over at step one. You know, I have it with me. People say, "Hey, your book sucks," and I'll be like, "Oh, but," and then I'll think, "No, it doesn't. What are you talking about? You're an idiot." Then they'll say, "Oh, your book sucks because," and I'll think, "Oh, maybe they have a point." Assimilate slightly. Think about what they're saying. They'll say, "Oh, well, these chapters are a little hard to read." I'll go back. I'll read those chapters, and I'll think, actually, yeah, I know what's happening in these chapters. But somebody who isn't me, which is just everybody else, doesn't. And then I act upon it, and I will take those chapters and I will think, how do I make these chapters more accessible to Joe or Josephine blogs on the street? Or J blogs, who does not wish to be gender identified in any way, shape or form. Or JB, because they don't want to have an ethnically stereotypical last name, so they don't identify their ethnicity either. Or just so nobody knows who they are. It was a writing. Yeah, it was kind of it was representing the three dots in a row in a dialogue. I thought it was, but you probably didn't. Anyway, back to the point. You've got to be able to take criticism on board. You've got to be able to act upon it. You've got to be able to assimilate it. You've got to be able to accept that you are not perfect. You have to be able to put your ego aside. Because let's put it this way, in order for you to write good characters, setting your ego aside is vital. Otherwise, if you cannot set your ego aside, all you are going to have is male and female versions of you. You'll have vampire versions of you, alien versions of you, dog, cat, sparrow, insect versions of you, all of them. Because your ego will only let you write about yourself to self-promote and self-advertise. The hardest part of being a writer and writing good character is letting your ego away to one side so that you can actually admit and allow yourself to be surrendered and submerged into another character. It's not easy, and that's why we're all such odd people. Now, I'm kind of a weird one in myself. The fact that I've got a family, I've got children, I've got a regular job, like so many of us on here. Most people don't even know I'm a writer, but all the people who know me acknowledge quite freely and willingly that I am a little bit on the weird side. Prime example, I notice things that other people don't. I'll comment on them and make up stories about them. My wife mentions it regularly. I will mention something that I've seen and what it reminds me of. She'll look at it and go, I didn't even see that. Or I didn't even notice that. I also analyse and study people. We've had, shall we say, some less than salubrious run-ins with certain individuals, members of family or whatever. And I've said from the first meeting, I don't trust him. I wouldn't trust him if I were you. There's something that just doesn't gel with me. And that's because we as writers, it's one thing, one element and piece of our psychosis is that we study and pick apart other people, and we've done this to such a degree throughout our lives that our characters are formed from all these little disparate fragments of perception of other people that we've had. Think about that for a minute. Every character you've made is probably, if you can let go of your ego like that, like I mentioned you should do, is probably an assimilation. God, I'm losing my ability to put words in. An assimilation of 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 people that you have had interactions with throughout your life. You may not even consciously be aware of the fact that you have assimilated this person into your book. I could probably tell you there are people I do not remember having interactions with who have occurred in my book. So all my characters I can tell you for certainty, excuse me, itchy foot, I probably met at some point, I just don't remember doing it. Charles, there is probably an African American police officer out there who reminds me of Charles. Asmodeus, there is probably some dirty little pervert out there somewhere who reminds me of him. Zane, I probably met someone like him. Sable, it might be hard to have met a sword-wielding killing machine. Nephilim Loner, who is actually quite a nice guy and smokes a great deal. But I suppose aspects of his character may well come from people I know. That there is, I will freely admit, there are threads of my character within his threads. You know, I'm not that egotistical, though I am a little bit, because there's bits of me in him. But I'm not that egotistical to write me as the main character. Because though I know how to fight with swords, I would last about 5 minutes against a professional, if I was lucky and if he tripped over at the beginning or dropped his sword or something. I know how. So a complete amateur who's never picked up a sword before, I would beat them, but anyone else I would be taken apart in seconds. It's just true. I would not survive as an immortal for very long, and I'm nowhere near as witty or intelligent. But again, you could see that as well. A lot of us do that. Your character may be an idealization, or the kind of person you, as a person, wish to be. But you see, there's a nugget. There's nothing wrong with you writing about the idealization of the person you want to be, because the chances are, if there's an ideal person you would like to be, there's an ideal person other people would like to be. And that's something that equals people reading your book, because they all want to be your main character. They all want to take that journey of discovery, and they all want to be better. And if you can have people in your book which can be identified as goals for regular people to achieve, you're writing well. So the art of the storyteller took a little bit of a diversion this week. We will be back to our regular program next week, I promise. I was giving a more sort of general advice catch-up, filling in bits and pieces of what I've been thinking for the past month or so. But I'm back, and we will be back on track from next week on our regular basis and everything like that. I will give you a little special announcement here if you guys are listening. I'm getting towards all the paperwork and the printouts I've done, and I am going to start either on the Chronicles of Enoch channel in Facebook. I may even put up a specific Chronicles of Enoch channel right here, but on the Chronicles of Enoch page, should I say, on Facebook, or potentially on the Chronicles of Enoch group I have created associated with that, or maybe just on the web page. I really haven't decided yet. Maybe all of them. I'm going to start another form of workshop. It was a friend of mine, thank you Sal, who reminded me of this. An editing technique. Read the manuscript aloud and see how it sounds. I'm going to be sharing that with some of you people. Excerpts and good bits from the book are going to be recorded as audio files and uploaded to website, Facebook group, Facebook page thing. Send them to you by mail, pigeon, something. For those of you who understand, I'll send you a distrans message if you get that joke. Haha. Anyway, so that's the thing. I'm going to start doing something like that. I'm going to start to work on both the Facebook page and the group, and I am open to suggestions from those of you silent masses who listen. They're going to be anonymous. I don't have to mention any people. You know who you are. The guy who's been patiently waiting for this video, thank you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the support, by the way, of you who have spoken and you who have not. I appreciate it all the same, though. Thank you. It's what keeps me going, what keeps me writing, what keeps me sitting here getting bitten on the feet by mosquitoes while I record my video and don't give it away on my face. That's why I kept hunching down, because little bugger of a mosquito was chewing away at my foot. Still is. I will catch it in a minute if I'm good. Anyway, one final thing I will leave you with this week, because I've gone over the 30-minute mark quite significantly. I have put a contest on the webpage. URL will be in the description, don't worry. Of Guessed the Horseman. Because one thing I've done in the Chronicles of Enoch, thank you Sir Terry Pratchett for the inspiration, by the way. He made a little joke about the Beatles. Remember there were 4 Beatles, the famous ones. Bowl haircuts, singing, very popular in the 60s and 70s, and all from Liverpool. There was supposed to be a 5th Beatle. Sir Terry Pratchett made a joke, but he left before they got famous. Sir Terry Pratchett, God rest his soul, and thanks to his contributions to the study of Alzheimer's, by the way, Sir Terry made a joke that there was a 5th Horseman who left before they got famous too, before the big apocalypse. I have a 5th Horseman as well, and I would like you to try and guess just who this 5th Horseman is. Clues, hints, little trails, some of which may be false, are laid through the website. They are laid in pictures and illustrations that I have put up. They may be in places you don't expect. They're certainly in the book itself. And in Darkness Within, the first book of the Chronicles of Enoch, you are of course going to find out who the 5th Horseman is towards about chapter 20 something. But if you'd like to take a guess before, then that's cool. I may or may not tell you who is right and who is wrong, but come on, it's a bit of fun. There'll be some prizes involved. I may just decide to pick 5 people at random who come up with the most inventive and creative answers, and I'll get some signed artwork put together. I'll get some bits and pieces of the manuscript put together and digitally sign them, scan them, email to you, that sort of thing. I'll come up with something. But come on, it's just a bit of fun, isn't it? That's what we're looking at doing. Having a bit of fun, a bit of excitement, a bit of enjoyment. Because we do take ourselves a bit too serious, and we have to remember what we're in this for, because it's fun, because we enjoy it, because writing is a pleasure. Okay, this is Alan J. Fisher signing off for this week. Have yourself a fantastic week. I will see you next week. Episode 9, 10. Let's just say this is episode 8.5, shall we? Episode 9, the proper one, will be coming next week. Everyone have a fantastic week. Again, thank you all for listening and enjoying. I will be back next week. Happy writing, everybody. Or happy reading, whichever you choose to do. Love you all. Bye-bye.